Hey there, welcome back to gggaming. We finally got another 7-star raid boss to do a guide for, and hey, here it is. This is going to be for that guy right there, which is MEGANIUM. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, hey, I apologize, but that's what I call him, is MEGANIUM. We're going to use all these other Pokemon that you see here as the raid showcases, so stick around. Make sure you check those out. Otherwise, let's get over to all the details for this so you understand how this raid works and why it can actually be much easier than it seems, because it is a pretty strong one. All right, let's not waste any time. As always, let's get right into the details for this raid boss so that you best know how to prepare to solo this thing. Okay, over to MEGANIUM. Let's go to the summary for this Pokemon and take a look at what we are dealing with. We are going to use the side-by-side view because I do like that. The resource of Cerebi.net is phenomenal, and it's going to give us all the other details we need as we talk about this thing. All right. First and foremost, Tera type is Psychic. All right, Psychic is what he's running, which means we are going to focus on weaknesses to Psychic. So Bug, Ghost, and Dark types, those are your weaknesses. We are really only going to focus on one of those, and that is the Ghost type. The Ghost type works great against this guy. You may have noticed that none of my showcase Pokemon are going to be specifically targeting the Bug or the Dark, because both of those, I've just not found good options. I'm sure there will be lots of other great options that YouTubers are going to figure out, but I'm going to give you some great ghost options to take this guy down. All right, let's get over and let's actually talk about his move set. So we're going to do these two things in tandem. So the moves over at the Cerebi side are right here, okay? He's essentially got 7 moves. He has the 4 moves that we see here, which are the primary moves he can use over and over and over throughout the fight. And then he has 3 coded moves, and that are over here with what they're called additional moves. So Reflect, Light Screen, and Bulldoze. All right, and we'll talk about those when we get down to the actual raid flow down here a little bit later on. So stick around for that and you'll understand where those come in. But ultimately, they're just used one time throughout the fight because they're additional moves. And they're used at the same interval always. Like whether it's HP or time, they're always used at the same time. All right. The moves that he has, MEGANIUM has, all right, they're all physical. So Seed Bomb, Zen Headbutt, Body Press, and Curse. Curse is actually a status move. We're going to talk about that and why that could be an absolute pain, but also a benefit to you. Seed Bomb, Zen Headbutt, and Body Press are the physical moves that he's going to use. None of them are terribly atrocious unless he gets fully buffed with that Curse move, and we're going to talk about why here shortly. But otherwise, 80 power is kind of the standard. So they all have 80 power. The only one that even has an added effect is Zen Headbutt, which is the possibility to make you flinch. Again, we're pretty much always going to be going first against this guy, especially because of the Curse move. So this one is almost a moot point. You're never going to flinch. Don't worry about it. But that's what you have to worry about. So the 4th move, this is the real game changer. All right, Curse is the game changer. When we read the description here, this doesn't tell us anything. So when Curse is used on a non-ghost type Pokemon, what happens? Well, the speed stat, so speed, all right, so speed stat goes down 1. And then the attack, so ATK, and the defense go up 1. That is what happens when MEGANIUM uses this move. His speed stat gets dropped to stat, and then the attack and the defense both get bumped 1 point. And because it is a standard move, it's part of his standard pool of 4 moves, he can use this thing as much as he wants, and he does. He uses it an absolute ton. And he can use it in the background, which means against the NPC Pokemon on your team, because you're soloing this, so those 3 computer-played Pokemon, he can use it on them, and you don't even see the animation. He can literally max out his defense and his attack in 2 turns, if you let him. But hey, we're going to show you how to avoid that and actually make this much more manageable. So stick around for that. Beyond the moveset, let's talk about the stats real quick. MEGANIUM, as always with a 7-star raid boss, he's fairly rounded. You know, he's got decent stats all around. He is going to be attack built, so the 200 attack, and then the 2 defensive stats are really, really good at 236 and 259, which means he's kind of a tank. He's going to take your hits, and it's going to take them well. We do have a couple builds that we're going to show you that do hit really hard, which is nice because it feels good to hit against something this beefy and actually do some damage, because just standard damage is you just sort of chip away very, very slowly with as high as his defense is. Otherwise, nothing else to worry there. Nothing too crazy. The ability is a mute point, Leaf Guard. Prevent status conditions in harsh sunlight. We're not putting up the sun, and he doesn't put up the sun himself, so it's irrelevant, and you're not going to worry about it. All right, so next, let's go jump over to the Cerebi side and let's talk about the raid flow and what to expect beyond the rest of this raid. So you know the moves, you know the stats, but how does this thing actually pan out? How does it work? Well, he's going to come in and on turn 0 and please check out any of the showcase videos because I'm going to walk you through all this step by step, just not doing it here because this is the overview. He comes in, turn 0, he's going to put up Reflect and Light Screen. What does that mean? Well, that means for 5 turns, you're not going to do much damage. And that's great because we're going to use those 5 turns to set up properly and get ready for this fight. So don't worry about those 2. We're just going to let him do it and move on. After that, he is going to reset your stats along with the shield activation. So our stats, he's going to reset our stats. That is kind of the critical point at which we're going to start really building this fight. So up until that point, we're just kind of setting up and getting ready, getting our Tera ready, things like that. But we're really pushing for the shield activation, which is at 85% HP, 80% time. And then the biggest one of all, the most important one, is the player stat reset, which is right here at 79% time remaining. I don't know why they said 79%. It's basically just 80%. So same time as the shield. So about turns 4 or 5, he's going to do both of these things. Throw his shield up. And he's going to reset your stats. May not be at the exact same time based on how you're doing in the fight, but otherwise that's really what that's going to, we're kind of working off of that. He does a couple more things through the rest of the fight that I want to point out, and that is going to reset his stats twice. He resets them at 70% and he resets it at 40%. All right. That's important if you're trying to debuff him. We're not going to go crazy on debuffing this guy. Some of the builds do require debuffing him a little bit to get the damage in, but we're not going to go crazy on it. And we can manage that. And then after the 2 resets, the only other thing he does is this bulldoze move, which we see up here in the added moves. There's that bulldoze right there. He does that at 30% HP. Really, it's a non-factor. I have yet for that thing to even matter. It does drop your speed stat, tends to knock out all the NPCs at once. It is a fairly strong move, but overall, our builds are going to have no problem at all handling this. So, again, not a big deal. So now you know kind of what the raid flow is. One more thing I want to point out over here is the loot pool. The loot pool, of course, for a 7-star raid boss is always amazing. But for the first time since the Pokemon Day events, we have Herba Mysticas in the loot pool for a standard 7-star raid. Awesome. So glad that the company kept these in because it does make farming these things a whole lot funner when you get these rare drops, which are actually not so rare because I've gotten them every single time I've knocked him out. Like 3 and 4 of them at a time. So it's really good. And you'll definitely see it in the showcase videos. All right, moving over. Now that you know how this guy is actually going to work and what's going on, let's talk about what you can expect to see in the showcase videos along with the team setup. All right, so you're going to see Annihilate, Arceus, Golden Go, and Petrunt in those builds in the showcase videos. I'm not going to go over those here just to save time. Go check those out. The ones you want to check out, partial, 1, 2, all of them, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. But I do want to cover the team build because this is critical to being able to solo this. All right, so you're going to need at least one of these 3 Pokemon right here, which are Staraptor, Arcanine, and Tauros. Why is that? That is because their ability Intimidate. The ability Intimidate, the moment they come into the fight, whether they are, the first time they come in, when they spawn, when the fight starts, or every time they get knocked out, they get respawned in, this Intimidate ability takes effect, and that drops the attack stat by 1 every single time. Now, you're going to see in my party, I've actually got 2 of these already set. I've got Staraptor and Tauros in there every single raid. Check out the guide down below linked on how to lock that raid party. Lock these NPCs in because it's just a little trick. It's very easy. Still works even to this day. And it allows you to control your raid party, making solos so much more fun when you consistently know. And you're going to see that in all my showcases because they have the exact same party, which are these 2 along with the Toxapex, which also has Chilling Water. That's a bonus. Chilling Water drops attack as well. He's not required, but that's just what I ended up with. Now, the other 2 good ones to have in your party, I'm going to say at a minimum, you're probably going to want Gardevoir or Arbolivia, all right? Or as I call her, Abrolivia, because I'm terrible at pronunciations. You're going to need one of these 2 because these are your healing conditions. You got Grassy Terrain and then Life Dew for Gardevoir, all right? And then one of these 3 with the Intimidate side to really be able to consistently take this guy down. I've got 2 Intimidators and no healer, and I still do absolutely amazing in these builds. So again, check out the video on how to lock your raid party, and let's get over to the showcases. And as always, drop a like, hit that sub button if you haven't. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this video, the ways that I can improve, or other builds that you are using on this guy. And hey, I'll see you in the next one.